Economics, Form 2, Economic Systems. This is Lesson 5, Economic Systems. We can see that the world has evolved through different economic systems. The world has actually passed through different economic systems that up to today have left their mark. We have had the traditional systems. We have had the market system, which is still there now, and the most popular. We have the mixed systems, which are popular in developing countries. And then we have the planned economic systems that you find in socialist and communist countries. So that is what we see. Actually, if we want to define it, it is a form of organization adopted by a community to strive to satisfy most of the economic wants of its members. So an economic system is a form of organization adopted by a community to strive to satisfy most of the economic wants of its members. Now, if we start looking at them from beginning, the traditional system, this is a system that is guided by traditional norms and culture. Normally, it is not very developed. Today, you could still find it and trace it in some backward areas in Africa, Latin America, and Asia. You see, it has strong elements of superstition and witchcraft, and can also be called subsistence economic system. So in the past, in historic times, you found this in feudal systems in Europe. Some of these feudal systems could be found in the northern part of Cameroon, Ethiopia, and so on. So there are scratches of these traditional systems existing, but they are all disappearing. Now we have the market systems which we all want to consider. This is a more developed system. As the market economic system is more developed, and it prevails in the modern and developed world. It is guided principally by market forces. That is why it is known as free system. You know, for a market system to be guided by market forces, it means that we have to recognize the power of consumer sovereignty. That is from where the statement "consumer is king" comes from. That is, we have to respect the taste, the wishes, the expectations, and whatever of the consumer. And that is how the market works. So this market system has been adopted by most developed countries because it is proving to be effective. To an extent, there is some small state control, because you might never have, the state can never take off its hands completely from matters concerning any country. So state control is very limited in this system. In the feudal system, the control there involved maybe traditional rulers, local big men and all that, who could determine what should be produced, who produces what, and all that. So, but with the free economies, it is the consumer taste that is followed. What the consumer wants is what is produced. So, market economies are marked by the freedom of choice and enterprise. That is, what you want to produce, you make your choice. How you want to produce it, you make your choice. For whom are you producing, and etc. You make it is free, and enterprise. And the next thing that marks the market economy is the consumer sovereignty. That is, the consumer is king. You produce because you want your good to be consumed. Therefore, you must treat the consumer with the greatest delicacy. You must conform to his taste, his wishes, his wants, his expectations, and everything. The next thing that characterizes this type of economic system is self-interest. Anybody who goes into it is not producing for himself. It's not producing for charity or for the community or for somebody else. He's producing for himself. He's a capitalist. He wants to make as much money as possible. Then the next characteristic here is the private ownership of wealth. So it is not state wealth, it is not wealth from the community, it is private ownership. So that is how you have investments into such economic systems. The next item we should notice about it is competition. It's free economics, free, and everybody has a right to come in, everybody has the right to do A or B or C. So with this kind of freedom, there's bound to be competition. And competition in this case is rife. Competition is very rife. You can also call it free enterprise, as we looked at it up there. We can call it the laissez-faire system or laissez-faire economics, or we can simply call it capitalism. That is the market economics. You can simply term it as capitalism. Now, if we go to the planned economic systems, we'll see that we're talking here about two of such systems. The first one is the socialist, one of the planned economic systems is the socialist system. There's considerable state control. And then this was introduced with the advent of socialism and existed in many countries in Eastern Europe. Here, the state control over the means of production was considerable. You see, today much of such economies have given up, they have given way. And it is because of all the limitations discovered in these planned systems. When you have a central plan, it kills initiative. There are certain things that happen. We will come back to these topics in our later classes to get more details on them. Now, another form of a planned economy, which obtained in Russia, and maybe we could say China, where all the means of production is owned by the state. You see, the whole economy is guided by a central plan, and that is how it is. So, if you enter a taxi, the money that you are paying, the driver is working for the state. So, at the end of the day, the money is paid into the state treasury. If you go to the tailor or to the hairdresser, the money that you pay, or to the shoe repairer by the street side, the money that you pay to him, he pays into the state treasury by the end of the day. So all the means of production are controlled by the state, which means that at the beginning of each year, a plan comes from the state as to how much shoes should be produced by each factory, and all that. So that is what we call central planning. That is what we call central planning. So we have seen the communist system, and then we can now go to what we call the mixed system. The mixed economic system. This is a system with part state control over the means of production and part market systems. Many third world countries evolved with this system and ended up with the proliferation of state corporations. Today, the move to privatize is shifting these states towards free market systems. So you can imagine that most of our third world countries, when they came up, they thought that certain aspects of the economy can only be controlled by the state. So they set up state corporations, and the state corporations ended up mismanaged because the managers of the state corporation were not the owners, so they were not really interested. Each person wanted to grab as much as he wanted. And these corporations started collapsing. When you invest your money into your own business, you want to be careful about it, about the way you manage it. But if you are appointed to manage Cameroon Airlines, or you are appointed to manage Cameroon Shipping Lines, or if you are appointed to manage some of these state corporations, the way you manage it is not the way private ownership would have managed it. And then in the third world countries, we had these development plans, program for 5 years, program for how many years, and so on, which were almost similar to the state planning systems, and this kind of brought down or delayed economic progress. So today, the third world countries, which were now confused between the free economies and the planned economies, so they were mixing these two up. Today, that is what you find in them. Some degree of government control, some degree of freedom in the whole thing. That's what you find. So, at the end of this, I would recommend that you read Economics Made Simple by Whitehead and Elementary Economics by Harvey.